Walt Disney. The animated drawing has matured and has taken its rightful place among the fine arts.
Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art, and welcome back to another edition of Toon Talk. Now, some of you might be looking at me saying, "Hey, you look a little different today." That's true. I got a new haircut. Thank you for noticing. But let's get on to the main topic for today. If you read the title, you know it is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. So, full disclosure, I watched She-Ra on and off on Netflix, on my friend's account. I watched numerous clips on YouTube to fill in the gaps that I missed. And of course, I watched the final season of it, which is, a really amazing season. Overall, I feel the show starts off a little weak, but then hits every mark by the end. And after the show came out, I started going online and noticing that a lot of the fans do one thing, amazing fan art, and number two, are demanding a She-Ra movie. In the vein of Steven Universe with the Epilog movie and the Epilog series. So I decide, you know what? Let me throw my hat into the ring, and I'm gonna give you my opinion on how to go forward with a She-Ra Epilog series. Let's say 7 episodes, give or take. First things first, we're gonna take everything we know so far based on the universe of She-Ra and put it towards a timeline. So this video is going to be in 2 parts, a timeline, and then after that, a breakdown of the episodes one by one as I feel they'll plan out. Now here's the main thing. What will be the reason for this epilogue series? What is the actual theme or story being told across these episodes? Well, it has to be the only thing left in the storyline, and that's going to be, where is Adora from? That's right, everyone, we are going to be diving into He-Man territory. We're going to basically have our group go on, as Adora put it,
one more best friend squad road trip.
In search of her homeland. And to do that, as I said, we're going to start with a timeline, first explaining what exactly is going on planet Eternia, Adora's homeworld and the home of He-Man. So let's start right now with a timeline at the point known as the start of She-Ra. Now the purpose of this timeline is to really give us a kind of writing Bible, as they say. Many shows have a Bible, a series Bible they follow. So using this, you will basically create the storyline afterwards. So this timeline eventually will be explained in the actual episodes, but for now, we're going to do a standalone to kind of get everyone on board with the concept I have in mind. So let's roll back the clock. Let's roll back roughly just over 1,000 years from the start of She-Ra. We are in the outer universe, and planet Eternia and its sister planet Etheria exist within the same solar system, essentially at different ends of the rotation around the sun. At this moment, the original first ones have pretty much hunkered down on planet Eternia. You have the upper crust who rely more on science but are fully aware of their magical heritage, mainly He-Man and She-Ra. Then you have the somewhat lower crust. They're important in that they have something they can give to the upper crust. The lower crust include the old sorcerer. He's this old man who has all this knowledge about the original He-Man and She-Ra siblings who were known as the siblings of Grayskull. That's actually their last name, and that's what we're going to be using in the series. So he erects a large temple, a kind of library of all of the first one's knowledge on Eternia, and the higher-ups let him do it to keep him happy. He has about maybe 100 or so loyal followers and even a female assistant who helps him on his daily task of just keeping track of all the magic. Now, at this time, the upper crust essentially trick him. They steal his information and they create the 2 swords, one of which is the fake sword of She-Ra. Remember that from the series? That's used to essentially control the next She-Ra. The second one is the fake sword of He-Man, which they hope to use on the next incarnation of He-Man. We all know what happens next. Mara gets found out. She is the new She-Ra. the higher-ups give her that sword, and they sent her on a mission to the sister planet of Etheria to essentially suck up the magic and use it as a powerful weapon to fight their space-invading rivals, Horde Prime. We fast forward by about a year. The sorcerer finds out what's really going on with Mora and the fake sword that he created. Enraged, he destroys the fake sword of He-Man so it cannot be used to take up all the magic from the universe, just like Mora was being used for. Mora, as we now know, decides to fight against the evil computer and teleports the entire planet of Etheria to another dimension. Back in Eternia, the higher-ups are freaking out. There's no He-Man sword, and as far as they know, planet Etheria just straight up disintegrated. They go to the sorcerer and demand he rebuild both swords. He says no, a fight ensues, and he is deeply injured. By the way, it is also around this time when his disciples actually make the failsafe. They were just never able to give it to Mara before the planet teleported away. When the big fight goes down, and the sorcerer then gives in to his mortal wounds, his assistant, the young woman who becomes the sorceress in the future, decides enough is enough, and with the help of their paladins, they make the castle of Grayskull and all of its great knowledge disappear from sight. Now, with no magic, no one to lead the magic, and a whole planet gone missing, the majority of the first ones decide to cut loose. They abandon the planet, head into space, and over the course of the next 1,000 years, slowly get wiped out by Horde Prime. However, over the same course of 1,000 years, those who remained on the planet who were loyal to the ways of the sorcerer decide to restart society, and thus starts a new age in Eternia, in which the first ones blend their magic with science openly as opposed to using it for the forces of evil. We now jump ahead roughly 25 years before the start of She-Ra. A young prince by the name of Randor and his right-hand man and best friend, Man-at-Arms, are defending his father's kingdom from an evil necromancer, some old wizard dressed in all black. The necromancer wants to get into the kingdom because Randor and his family line are the last of the first ones, and with that said, have a massive knowledge and a big amount of magical items, all connected to the magic of the first ones, and this necromancer wants it. During the battle, Man-at-Arms is gravely injured and lost and ends up deep in the forest. As he wanders around, one arm badly broken, hidden in the mist, inside Castle Grayskull, is the sorceress, unaged and physically attached, more or less, to the Castle Grayskull. She cannot leave, and against her better judgment, she takes pity on the Man-at-Arms and lets him in. However, he may never speak of the location of this castle. We now fast forward to roughly 5 to 4 years. Prince Randor is now King Randor, and his right-hand man, Man-at-Arms, is the leader of the guards and one of the several masters. During these 5 years or so, Man-at-Arms has actually been secretly returning to Castle Grayskull, but on this day, Man-at-Arms returns quietly from his venture into the woods with a small child in his hands. Fast forward roughly 1 to 2 years later, and King Randor and his wife give birth to twins. But on the night as they all sleep, a portal opens up and baby Adora gets teleported away. It's now roughly 2 years before the start of She-Ra. A young Prince Adam is training in the yard with Man-at-Arms and Man-at-Arms' daughter, Teela. All of a sudden, there's a massive explosion, and when the dust clears, there returns the necromancer. Thought to have been dead for nearly 5 years, beneath the cloak he has a rotted, skull-like face. Yes, the necromancer is in fact Skeletor, but using his magic, he essentially brought life into his corpse. A battle ensues. Prince Adam is gravely injured. Man-at-Arms takes the unconscious Adam to Castle Grayskull and pleads with the sorceress to let them in. And when they enter, she admits to Man-at-Arms that the reason she saved him long ago was because she knew one day he would bring her the true heir to Grayskull. She manages to heal Adam, but not entirely. From then on, Adam will in fact have a limp and wear a leg brace. She then leads him inside the temple and says, these are the temples of Grayskull, and kind of gives him a rundown of, the heritage and how he is destined to be He-Man, but he must prove his worth. She shows him the broken sword on the table and says, this is a sword of He-Man created long ago by my mentor. Reach inside of yourself, grasp the sword, and call out. So he picks up the hilt, and as he raises it above his head, he then stops and then puts it back down and tells her, this doesn't seem right. This isn't the sword of He-Man. And she goes, you have passed the test. He-Man is not the sword. And at that point, on the spot, the sword manifests from his hand and he transforms into the huge muscular He-Man.
I am the very model of a modern nature general, light information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England and I quote the facts historical from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical.
Which now brings us to the timeline of the start of She-Ra. You know what happens? The entire She-Ra series goes on. Let's imagine the She-Ra series in 5 seasons is about 1 year, which encompasses the roughly 3 years in which Adam is already He-Man at his full capacity. Now we're at 1 year after the start of She-Ra, and Adora says the famous line,
One more best friend squad road trip.
and thus our Epilog series truly begins. So that's that, guys. My timeline for He-Man as it occurs parallel to the new She-Ra series. Now, if you really like this concept, if you want to expand upon it, feel free to do so. I mean, I would love to hear people's opinion about how I think the He-Man timeline fits given the history that we are aware of from the new She-Ra series regarding the first ones, regarding Horde Prime, and etc, etc. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is just part 1 of a 2-part video. The second part of the video is going to be of the individual episodes. It'll be a quick rundown of key points that happened throughout each episode, along with some little nitbits here and there of character development, character traits, and yes, I will try and sprinkle as much as I can of the different He-Man characters because we know there's so many of them. Now when it comes to the style of how the characters may look, well, we'll get into that later on. So, thank you for tuning in, and keep an eye open for the next episode. That'll be up in due time. And as always, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that. And all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later. If you liked this video, be sure to check out my other works on my YouTube channel. And also be sure to follow me on these social media websites. Links in the description down below.